Are you recording?
Anybody wants to put more money for soldiers? I'm taking it. No? Or for the class, which is right here. Some chairs or it's sweet. So people can sit as we start there, them, and we're not.
Shalom Aleichem. Whoever has Sfarim will be starting like Aleph today, first Midah. Last week we were learning in general about the importance of resembling Hashem in the Midot of the Keter, the Midot of Rachamim, 13 Midot of Rachamim. We spoke about not just only calling them, but also being, acting like them. We want to resemble Hashem. There should be a Tzelem Elokim, there should be a godly representation of mercy of all the Rachamim of Hashem in this world. Okay. So the psukim that bring down the Midot of Rachamim, we said the pasuk that we use normally is when Moshe Rabbeinu calls Hashem, Hashem, Kel Rachum B'Chanun, Erech Apayim B'Rav Chesed V'Emet. That's the calling upon the names of Hashem of mercy. There's another place in the Navi and Micha, end of Micha, where also over there the Navi describes the Midos of Hashem, and over there he has a different pasuk, and that's the pasuk that the Ramak is using here to describe it. The pasuk is Mi El Kamocha, Noseh Avon Vober Al Pesha Lesharit Nachalato. לא יחזיק לעד אפו, יחפץ חסד הוא, ישוב ירחמנו, יכבוש עוונותינו, ותשליך מצולות ים כל חטאותינו. תן אמת ליעקב, חסד לאברהם, אשר נשבעת לאבותינו מימי קדם. This is not one pasuk, it's a bunch of psukim that describe 13 midot of rachamim, and we're going to go through now pasuk by pasuk, midah by midah, and we're going to aim to understand how is this midah pertaining to God. Right? How is God? Like, what's your name?
Ilana.
Ilana asked last week, your question stayed with me the whole week. Your discussion stayed with me the whole week. I was thinking about it. But really, there's so much about God that we find, but then yet we see that there's an essence. Like in an example of parents and kids, you could say that in the relationship of parents and children, there's love. Let's say that there's love. But that love has all kinds of flavors. Sometimes that love is sweet. Sometimes it's bitter. Sometimes it's sour. Sometimes you'll see all kinds of behavior. But there's no question that the inner drive of this entire relationship of parenthood is a drive of love. So we're looking at the world. We're looking at the many, many behaviors of Hashem, the many, many appearances of godliness in the world, which everything is. And we're aiming to see the inside, really the engine, the inside, the pnimiyut. Okay. So when the Navi'im experience God, we said they don't just experience God, they experience Him and describe Him. And this is not just for us to know what they experienced. Oh, wow, he experienced a merciful God. The prophets open up windows for us into godliness and for us to know what is God right now in the present. So when we study about the mercy of Hashem, this is not something that once upon a time people experience or people could experience. These are everlasting, infinite, godly attitudes. This is who He is. This is what He is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech shakol nihya b'dvaro. So the pasuk starts Mi El Kamocha. הורה על היות הקדוש ברוך הוא מלך נעלב, סובל עילבון. מה שלא יכילהו רעיון. We normally think of a king definitely deserves respect or gets respect. Definitely the respect and a king are definitely deeply involved, those relationships. The Gemara wants to discuss, could a king even give up his honor? Melech shekmachala kvodo. The king says, I don't want you to honor me. Could that be? Or no, you must be honored. The creator of the world is, he's also the king of the world, he's the creator of the world. However, his attitude in creation, we find that that one of the names that describes Hashem, that the angels describe Hashem, is Melech Ne'elav. Nun Ayin Lamed Beis. Ilabon is embarrassment, to embarrass someone. Right? If you embarrass someone, At He'elav Oto. Lahaliv is to embarrass. An embarrassed God. What does that mean? How does embarrass? What? What's it? Humble, embarrassed. Melech Ne'elav. Let's wait. Let's see. Sovel ilvon. Sovel ilvon. That means he, no matter how much you may insult him or go against him, he stands it. He can stand it. He can stand it. He can stand all that. Right? Sometimes in Hebrew there's a term ani lo sovel oto. I can't stand him. Right? In English, I can't stand him. What does it mean when you say I can't stand someone? That means that the experience of whatever's going on in that person is just too much. At least savlanut. The word savlanut is sovlanut is in Hebrew is tolerance, savlanut patience, all from the same shoresh samach beis lamed, which is sabal. A sabal is a carrier, a person that carries right big, a mover or something. That means that if I can't carry a refrigerator on my back. Some guys could. They could lisbol a refrigerator. And you say, listen, I don't know how you're handling that guy. I can't stand him. Maybe you could stand him. Maybe there's space. Maybe you could make room for him. So we're going to see that there's a kadosh baruch hu's melech sovel ilavon. Ma shelo yichilo rayon. Really hard to grasp in the mind. Obviously, nothing is hidden from him. He's creating everything. He's willing it all into existence. So he's aware of everything. Not only that, we're aware that we're not just created and then we just run along. We're created we're constantly created. So that means that every moment, every breath that I'm taking, it's the creator breathing it into me and he's willing me into existence. So if that's the case, that I've become totally aware of the life of the godliness that's in me, the godliness that's in me. That means that no one ever sinned against God without using God's power. It means when I'm sinning, I'm making a selfish choice. So I'm taking the life deposited in me and using it in a selfish way, in a wrong way. But let's look at it from the creator's point of view. I'm plugged in. The electricity is traveling with me wherever I go. So yes, I made a choice to go and make that action, but who's with me? Who's giving me life while I'm acting that thing? Only he's only the only one. Even though a person is actively sinning with this power right now invested in him, the creator doesn't pull the plug, doesn't stop you. What an embarrassment. The creator says, I'm creating life, I'm giving you life, and I'm telling you where not to put life and where not to put me. And no, you're schlepping me there and you're dragging me there. And it's like, and creator accepts it and okay, says, and this creature right now is actively using this energy, this life that's in him, in a negative way against the creator. So sovel here doesn't mean that he's suffering. Sovel means he's burdening, he's carrying. Right? A lot with parenting. Very, very strong that comes with parenting. We're going to see this also when it comes to this. We talk about a kadosh baruch hu being a gibor, a hero. What's a gibor? Big muscles or big guns? What's a gibor? The ability to control yourself. Right? Who's the bigger guy in the fight? The guy that could be quiet. Why? Because he has the power to hold back. So imagine how many times the kadosh Baruch Hu sees us, and he always going towards whatever choices we're going, and he is with us. And how many times in parenting we need this in our life, where we could watch our kid, about to make the same, just horrible teenage mistake or pre-teenage mistake, and that God wants him to have free will. So I'm gonna have to like hold back all my intelligence and all my love and all my experience and all my wisdom and all that pain that I want him to go through. The same way the Creator made it symptom, you've made a void of his revelation, and he gave me free will. As parents, right? As people, we have to do this also. Don't say that the Creator can't stop you at any given point. Right? You could say that the Creator created man and gave him power, and like one day they'll after 120 they'll square out. No. It's constant choice to give life. We find Yeravam after Shlomo Melech. After the king Shlomo came his son Rechov was the third king of David, and Rechov came at that time where the kingdom was meant to split. The kingdom at that point split to two, to the kingship of the 10 tribes of Israel and Shevet Yehuda, and the king of the Shevet of Israel at that time was Yeravam ben Nevat. Yeravam was a horrible Russia, very even iconic Russia. He made golden calves. He put one in the north, one in the south. He actively stopped Jews from going up to the temple. It was very, very strong, very big Russia. That's the Mishnah discusses. And the Creator gave him that space, just free will. There's a story where Hashem sends a Navi. Who was it? Ido? No. Where is it? Where's the Navi? Yeah, the Navi wasn't Ido. Navi, I don't know what was. Hashem sends a Navi. What? Yeah, Ido, right? He's buried here. Hashem told him to go to tell Yeravam that because of the way he's sinning, he gave him a horrible curse. The whole read him his final decree. But he told him as a sign to when this is going to happen is the sign is going to happen is the mizbeach, the altar that is going to break open and all the ash is going to fall. That's going to be the heavenly sign that is the time for the prophecy. And as he was reading this, the mizbeach broke and the king got super upset and he picked up his hand to hit Ido, and that second his hand froze. And we see from over here the reason he's bringing it over here is because she's showing that obviously Hashem could dry. Hashem is in Yeravam as he's sinning, as he's threatening. So that means that Hashem shows you by Yeravam that Hashem does have the power, and he sometimes does choose to intervene inside nature and stop things as they're happening at the last second, but he doesn't. It means when it comes to Hashem's own embarrassment, he says, I can handle it, but don't mess with my tzaddikim. So if people mess with the tzaddikim, Hashem has a very special protection on it. The Creator could tell a sinner, you want to sin? Go sin with your own life and your own energy. Don't drag me into those selfish places. No, he doesn't do that. This is a accepting of embarrassment that's unimaginable. And not just an embarrassment of the mind, it's an embarrassment that you're in a relationship that you're as if you're going to continue sustaining this sin, and you're sustaining it, you're handling it. That's why one of the names that the angels, when they notice this quality, how Hashem deals with his creation, they say you're a melech aluv, you're an embarrassed king. You're a king that can take so much embarrassment. Is there a God? Is there a strength? Is there a power like you? The first midah. Ata el, you're the ultimate power of everything. Baal chesed amitiv, you're the only good one that gives good to everything. El Baal Koach Leinakem. We also know you have the vengeance, the strength to take revenge, to stop you. Hashem showed us 10 sfirot. Hashem showed us 10 revelations that through those 10 revelations we're meant to figure out what's God. But one of the revelations Hashem shows us Devorah. Hashem shows us strength, right? Look at Mitzrayim, a whole showdown of 10 makos. Hashem could have just destroyed them, just one earthquake, one tsunami. No. Hashem says, I'm going to raise this empire, make them really, really, really big, make them super strong. I'm going to send Yosef HaTzadik. He's going to gather all the money of the entire world and bring it down. It's going to be a super duper empire. I'm going to show you how evil could actually get. I'm going to show you actually what happens to evil when they're done. So Hashem shows us that he has strength. Hashem shows us that he has koach gvura.
Was the evil of Mitzrayim that they enslaved us, or were they evil in some other?
The evil of Mitzrayim was their choice. The enslavement was the gzera that Hashem told Avram in Brit Ben Abitarim that your kids are going to have to be exiled by a nation. But this is in general. It didn't have to be the Egyptian. Right? The Egyptian, in general, this is a true principle of life. Good comes through the good people, and negative comes through negative or wrong, or whatever it is. That means that if you wake up in the morning and you're a good person, something has to happen to her, and she's a good person. So the Creator will make that good happen through you. You'll be the good mailman. So the good meets the messengers of the good. The same thing, chas v'shalom. If a person deserves some kind of punishment or correction today, and they're going to need to get something, so they're going to meet some kind of correction agent. Why are you in that position? You also have something guilty in you, and because you have something guilty in you, so therefore the punishment could come through you.
But we don't hear the return of all the way stones and prince, right?
Different evils, right? The evil of Sodom was a very selfish. Their main evil was that they didn't want to share the good that they were experiencing.
But they were also cruel. Like they killed people.
100%, yeah, for sure. So the Mitzrayim, putting kids in bricks and bathing with babies and all, you name it. It was very, very, very dark. Mitzrayim was a very, very dark culture. Throwing all the babies to the river, you know. I used to read the Midrash, and when you read the Midrash, it's even worse. They would put the babies into the fields and they would plow. That's in Tehillim. They would go deep into the ground. And these are the kids that recognize Hashem, the first ones that recognize Hashem. They were the ones that recognized it. So for sure, our general attitude, in general, to the Midah of Gvura, you know, Am Yisrael should have this look, you know, Hashem Chesed Merachamim. But everyone in their private life sometimes has one. The general attitude is Baruch Dayan Emet. Baruch Dayan Emet is the only sane way to look at the Gvura of Hashem, because the Mishpatim of Hashem, Mishpatecha Tehom Rabah, the Mishpatim of Hashem are a deep, deep Tehom. This is beyond any human understanding of the scope of the judgment of what's going on. So, okay. So Hashem is a Baal Koach Yinakem. Ve'im kol zeh, אתה סובל ונעלב עד לשוב בתשובה. So now we say, wow, Creator of the world, you have so much ability, and you have so much gvura, so much strength, but this gvura shows me how much chesed. Mi el, is there a power? Is there, and el means, the word el is the root for any Elokim, or the root level for any God, any power. El is also elei haaretz, it's strong. Normally, right, we're not used to seeing physical powers behave that way. Physical power is not pushover. Physical power is strong. But in a godly way, we're learning to see a godly attribute, that you could be so strong that you don't have to fight. Right. This year I had the yeshiva, so with boys of violence, we had a lot of violence this year. All kinds of fights, right? All kinds of frustrated teenagers, a lot of fights come out. So I was learning with them Tomer Devorah, and we were learning about becoming a superhuman. I thought, for me, this is the book to be a superhuman. Supermen are not people that cartoons that fly in the sky that are made up, let's see you be God. Let's see you rise above your humanity and actually act like a God. That's being a superhuman. So we're focusing on the fact that we're so strong that we don't have to fight. That's how strong we are. I could be that strong, I could beat you up. That's not strength. That's just me surrendering to my weakness. My anger comes in, and you just become an animal, just you and your natural self, and that's a weakness. Let's say you're being so strong that you could tame the beast and say, no, I'm here to be something much higher. I could control this animal tendency. I could control you. Yes, hurt my ego. You said something about this and about that. I'm bigger. I'm stronger than that. So this is this is a midah that we should meditate on, understanding deeper and deeper. How is this midah in God? And then understanding how is this midah potentially in us? Because we're here, like we said at the beginning, there's a tselem Elohim and there's dmut, tselem v'dmut. If we were created perfect, there'd be no reason for creation. None of us would have been here. We're all here because we're not there, in the other sense, but that's why we're here. Because if we were there, we would be there. But we're not, if we're in Bria, Tzira, Asiya, if we're in Olam Hazeh, that means we're not Atzilus. We're not, when Adam Rishon came around, we ate from the tree. We did something. There's a reason why we're here. So my midot are different than the midot of Hashem. It means I have a self, I don't have this midah in me naturally. Our natural reaction to someone who will hurt you, or imagine you're in this case, or I don't know, whatever the case is, you have some employer, or maybe a kid, or someone that's, like actually taking your credit card to the store on the phone with you, doing the sin that or whatever it's going to be, like actually using the power on your side, you have to, you have to okay with it. How much what? It's not, naturally, it's not us. So that means we're born different. God creates us in this world as different. We have something ungodly inside of us. And we have to study this godly and say, okay, this is my goal. This is my new super goal. I'm becoming like this. So the main midah that he's going to bring here, the midah of the keter, because the word that we use here is sovel, that a kadosh baruch hu is sovel. Not sovel in the sense of suffering. In Hebrew, could also be someone sovel, chas v'shalom. But sovel in the sense of carrying, right? Carrying the burden. And he's sovel. I could stand you. And yachol yisbol otcha. This is savlanut. Because what's the opposite of savlanut? I don't have room for you. Right? You're too much for me. There's no space for your whatever's going on here. There's no space in my emotional world for this mess. I can't stand. Savlanut means wait, I'm here. So that means that right now, so let's bring this home to our human relationships. Because ironically, we're going to discover the path to the nicest place in the world goes to the most difficult people and conditions in our life. Because let's think for a moment. When do I need to access mercy? When do I need to access mercy in my life? When I need to access mercy. That means that I'm naturally not about to respond in a merciful way. Maybe an ugly side, maybe a harsh side, maybe a natural side is about to come out. I say, wait, that's my animal soul. If I behave that way, yes, I'm b'tselem Elohim, but I'm not b'dmut. I'm not resembling the essence. I'm not resembling the actions. There's nothing about God that's physical. If I want to resemble him, I can't brush my hair this way or that way. It's not going to make a difference. It's about becoming. It's about the midot. Okay. So that right now, where am I going to meet this in my life? I'm going to meet this in my life in a precious relationship. Someone very close to me, super duper close. If they're not that close, they're not going to turn up that. They're not going to turn on your heart. You'll just say, okay, go on. But if they're close enough to annoy you and close enough to even cause this insult, this is where you're taking our trust. This is where you're taking our relationship after all this time, after all this trust. You're going there, that's what you want to do. And wait, so let's first identify where am I going to be forced to seek this level of godly mercy? Only in a difficult human relationship. It's going to be in a difficult one. So therefore, I'll tell you another thing. As we were learning this in yeshiva, it was amazing. We were learning this, and I kept on telling the guys, let's keep our eyes open to the difficulties in our human relationships, and let's look at them as springboards to godliness. This is our invitations to godliness. So you got to watch what you pray for. But we got into a serious week, mamish, that week, someone came to yeshiva and slapped me in my face. It was a whole story. I was Don't ask. It was like amazing. And Baruch Hashem, I hope that I got to, sovel him a little bit. But, so right, this is something that we want to open up to start appreciating this ability of transformation. And we're going to find it in the difficulties in our relationships. Because that's only when I'm pushed to my natural self when I could say, wait, there's a higher self that I want to become.
Is there a difference between the way men and women naturally, in a larger space, not every individual, approach this dynamic?
Are you kidding me? I don't think there's anything that men and women do the same.
Because it's not that I'm debating to what you're saying. It's just okay.
You should just know that one of my exciting parts of teaching this class, besides where we all remind you of my mother. Like I look at her, where's my mother? She should be here. But besides for that is learning this with women, because in my mind, women is just something more real that I felt in relation. Like men could sometimes be like more like spiritual and like maybe disconnected sometimes. I feel like women are sometimes like much more real. And I was actually excited to like hear your truth on these endowments.
Once in Tomer Devorah, and then we'd come back to this, we had a Tomer Devorah moment.
Right.
Yeah, like mom is bringing it down to, this person said this, and I'm gonna react, and I'm like, oh, no, this is a Tomer Devorah moment.
Right. So, but in that sense, I would say that we're all humans, and we're all, spiritually, I'm sure different things. We're going to find examples here that he brings to men about how to like forgive your wife. So it'll be interesting at that point to hear what you guys say on the other side. But it doesn't make a difference what the example is. Okay, the idea is that we're going to find, so the key savlanut, the umbrella midah, even though he's going to bring many, many midot, but really we're going to learn that the midah of the keter, the main midah of Hashem is savlanut. Savlanut. What?
I was thinking like what you were saying, like a big strong person is not one who makes a lot of noise, So it is rarely when they want you to have something, they don't say anything. Right.
It's also to make space for someone. To make space.
Right. That means in another sense, what I'm saying is, let's break it down into words, is ani sovel otcha. I can withstand you, I could carry you, I could make space for you. Exactly. There's room for you in my emotional world versus saying like, right now there's no room. I can't handle you right now. It's too much. There's room. You can make room. Okay. But this is savlanut right now. So we're going to find savlanut, obviously. Savlanut when with your friends, that's not going to be. So the savlanut here is going to be, it's going to come up in a case where I am a benefactor or whatever, pure giver of the good. Someone is receiving this good and using it not according to the way I want or even against my will. I have the full ability to close the faucet, and I'm allowing them, I'm tapping into this vastness, a greater godly aspect of myself, and I'm saying the Creator gives free will. He gives the space, so will I. I'm going to give the space.
2 weeks after I made Aliyah, and I went through all these channels here, banks, etc., all of that. I wrote a poem, and I have it on my whatever. Life is good. Sav la no.
Right. I tell my kids sometimes we could be, in the airport waiting 45 minutes online. I tell them this is where you learn patience.
Absolutely.
We're learning savlanut. So sometimes the more difficult, so it's going to be like the more difficult places, but in this, it's sometimes harder when it's more difficult people, like the person's in your life, it's in your life, and that's when the challenge really becomes.
But then it's hard that this doesn't like slide into abuse or.
Oh, very good. Okay, so, very good point. Okay, very good point. Okay, very good point. So obviously, when it comes in clear, so the way to prevent from this to going into abuse, you should, if you feel abuse, you should discuss it with someone. Sure, discuss it with someone older, professional, someone whatever it is. they'll tell you if this is in the getter of this is too much. Like if you're being abused, there's no, it's usher for you.
I just, I don't.
Yeah. No, chas v'shalom you.
Yeah.
I'm saying if a person is being abused in a relationship, there's a point where it's saying no. There's also a point of saying you have to defend yourself, and v'ahavta l'recha kamocha falls into this. There's no question about it. I just want to say also that there's, in general, we're going to fall into this of. This is not maybe it's too early for it. Yeah, let's leave it. Anything to come, two things about when it comes to this is has to do with when it comes to you and yourself. You can't have this attitude to another person. If you see another person like even chas v'shalom like going through any pain or anything, we defend them like it's not. And like I said, clear you should discuss it with other people because sometimes abuse is emotional, abuse is verbal, and abuse is like it's a very thin line to what's abusive and what's at what point is to what weights are you building and at what points are you breaking. So. Don't be alone in all these things. Discuss it, and general not being alone with this is a very big nakuda. Because if you take this into a place of the wrong place, you could find yourself chas v'shalom. Yeah.
I'm still confused. It seems that we're speaking about patient intolerance is the same. So we're talking about sablanut or soblanut. For me, sablanut and Hashem is more like and soblanut is tolerance. So I don't understand. It seems to be interchanging those words.
So like I said at the beginning, I think that the word sovlanut, I think is a Hebrew word. I'm not sure if it's a Lashon HaKodesh word. And it means the concept of sovlanut maybe, but this comes from the same root as savlanut, lisbol, because sabal is the same root, right? If you have,
But there's a difference between tolerance and impatience. So what is translated in
tolerant, but what
way that soblanut is tolerance and sablanut is patience. So we're talking about
what's okay? How would you differentiate between tolerance and patience?
So not tolerating is like having no, like you said, can't stand that.
Right. So they're very connected. In Lashon HaKodesh, you see that. I don't know exactly the exact root for sovlanut. I believe that it's the same word. I believe that it's the same word. It's the shoash would be samach beis lamed, and the idea would be to tolerate, the way to carry. All those words are really describing a similar attribute, which is having space, having. I wouldn't be the best.
I think compassion is actually closer to patience. Tolerance is more like, okay, you're annoying me, and I'm just gonna. That's not really patience. That's more like I'm gonna tolerate something because I have a choice, or because it's patience is more. I understand this is hard. I'm just gonna, like you said, give space, giving emotional space to somebody. That kind of patience is more compassion, right?
Yeah, I think in my mind they're very similar. Either brothers or cousins. It's the same idea. If you think of that, if you think of being sovel and being sovel, it's really a similar type of experience in the nefesh, making space and containing other. Sovlanut.
Is that the shoresh?
No, so the word
One is more like to be tolerant of something. You're not really accepting it. You're not really okay with it, but you tolerate it because.
Well, that could be semantics. So it could be like by one person, tolerance is like a less level of having patience, but that's just the way you experience. I think if you boil them down, unword them, right? So take the word and like try to feel it. What are you feeling when you're feeling both? You're going to see that's a very similar feeling in your being. So
when I see the middle of Hashem, so the soblanut, like when I see soblanut is like he's waiting, he says patience, he's waiting. And soblanut is like he's letting us to He's like just letting it.
he's withstanding our behavior, and he's
cleaning his teeth and so well. So that's it.
Right.
Okay.
Bekef.
Maybe the different time.
Yes,
The-
that's what I was thinking.
The
There's an element of
the
time.
Soblanu is now.
Now it's just someone who's using it for a while. Right. So that's why.
What do they call it? Wait a minute. Durative verb, a punctive verb and a durative verb. Like a punctive is, it's immediate, it's now, and durative is like,
Over time.
it's out.
It's in the
So-
next, the key to the differences between the two are obviously, I would think, are in the nekudot of which is which. And each nekuda has its own quality that it gives to the essence of the oath.
Right. Over here, he uses the word sovel and savanut very similar because
I have no-
sovel elavon means that he's sovel elavon, and he uses sovel and sablanut together. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe Shem or anything like that, but to me, the take home is that if something comes up that's said to me, so at least there's one level. Don't yell at them, don't get upset with them, try to understand them, that's some sort of sablanut. But then maybe I could even help them. Okay, I can get out of myself enough so I can get to a higher level. So the semantics of how to describe the Shem exactly, I can't go there. But the take home I can use.
Right. So the way it feels in us, the way it's going to feel in our experience is that I am actively giving to someone and I'm still giving to them. And while I'm giving to them, they're sinning to me with the shefa that I'm giving them. And I'm like not breaking the whole thing. I'm so valid. So you could obviously, it takes patience. It takes soblanut. That's the experience. Think inside yourself. If you're the giver and the receiver is taking the goods that you're giving them. Yeah, it could be in any relationship where you're giver of anything to someone and they're using that thing that you're giving them against you or against your wishes.
And they go,
Yeah.
Or even worse, I'm saying they're using it and like they're, I don't know, selling it or I don't know, doing something that you don't want, like obviously something you could stop.
You're wasting it.
Yeah, they're doing something wrong with it. Like if you think about it, the creator is giving us so much life every minute. And the choices that humans can make are so ridiculous. And that means that the flow of life that's constantly flowing, the river of life that's active, is being spent in anti-God places, in anti-God energies. So think about that as if you're the flow, you're speaking right, you're speaking Lashon Hara, or you're sinning mamish. So you think about that he could just stop it. No, but think inside yourself, how would you feel? What would give you the ability to not stop you from pulling it back? Meaning you would have two drives inside. You could say, okay, I'm closing the faucet, I'm taking the keys, I'm stopping this party. Or you could say, no, I'm gonna go to a godly place inside of me that's bigger, and I'm gonna allow what's happening here to continue.
Since I don't, it's not tangible enough, since I don't have an example.
And anytime, any sin, could you think of anyone doing a sin, a person doing a sin?
Someone and they took that thing and looked at it, yes. For instance, what would I get?
Who's a good creative? Go ahead.
Poured her a bowl of Cheerios and milk. And then she took the Cheerios and continued pouring it till it was completely full. And then she ate a third and left the table and did not say thank you. And when I mentioned that this was called touch, this became extreme. This is a challenge.
Well, you could be giving you give your kid money to go buy something, and they go out and they spend it on buying junk food. They're a good Tzfati example. Okay, now you're at the store when they're buying the junk food. They don't even see it, but you're standing behind them online. And you're giving that permission. You're giving that permission because you understand that this is how Hashem made the world, that he's giving the permission. He's not There's a delay. There's a delay in the system. He's allowing this delay in the system gives mercy, creates mercy. Okay.
There's a conflict between someone new that,
The what?
between someone new,
Chinuch
like
is
he used that opportunity in Syria to get about Baltasar and about.
I mentioned it, but it was not.
well. If we're talking about chinuch,
So
it's
someone new, does he not try anything?
Yeah, I should have. And her mother, when I talked to her mom about it, she said, she's going through stuff, and she explained some things about the child at that point. The child was going through, and I realized,
But I'll tell you what, it's very interesting. Chinuch, we sometimes look at chinuch as like, I have to correct this child, or the truth is that you're always educating. Always.
Yeah.
And if you are educating in that way, you're going to educate them, Tomer Devorah. Because if your kid or grandkid one day realizes, hey, Bobby could have, but she didn't, it's eventually going to get everything we do, we're always educating. Always. So if you're aiming to act from a godly place inside of you, talk about chinuch, that's amazing chinuch. It means that your kid is going to say, wait, what happened to mommy? What happened to Bubby? Like they're not acting like themselves. Like it's not going to be a conscious thing, but they're going to realize, hey, there's something more godly. I notice different things in people, people
Or
that
either that or they'll learn, oh, yeah, junk food's okay, but we didn't say anything, then behind your mind.
they'll learn junk food is okay till one day they grow up and realize junk food's not okay. But then overall, they're going to wait. I have a holy Bubby. She's hanging, it's going to go in a godly way.
Yeah, you're right.
It's always a chinuch. Oh, you're always
yes,
educating.
No, it's always.
Yeah, you're always educating. You're always on. But the chinuch, the real chinuch that I would look for is the chinuch of myself. Because it's much easier for me to, to point out where someone else needs correction. But I know that I need to be godly. If there's one person in the world that I could affect, maybe it's myself. So if I'm here to become more godly, I'm going to use this opportunity not to make you more godly, but to make myself, not in a selfish way, but that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to take this opportunity to make, and there's no question that if you're aiming to become more godly through this environment, through this relationship, that you'll have a good hashpah on that person. Like, don't think like, oh, you can say, oh, if I'm going to let that person sin, they'll just sin. No, the Creator gave them space, gave them that thing. If you're behaving in a godly way, good will happen to you and to them. Okay.
I think it's about timing. You have to let them make the mistake. Give them an hour, 45 minutes, and then sit down. Well, how was that?
Right.
How do you feel right now after you read that?
100%. 100%. There was this Saraya of Tzfat that write that if one of the reasons for Adam Rishon eating from Eitz Hadas was that if he didn't eat from Eitz Hadas till today, they'd be wondering, what's that Eitz Hadas? So you eat from it, and you move on. Right. So, but that's yeah. Okay. In general, there's a pasuk that says, because we're talking about Melech Alub, a king that gets insulted. So we'll finish with this one idea also, very strong idea about being insulted. The pasuk says like this: "Hane'elavim ve'enam olvim, shomim cherpatam ve'enam meshivim, osim me'ahava v'smechim b'yisurim, aleim hakatuv omer v'ohavav ketzet hashemesh b'gvurato." Pasuk says, "Hane'elavim ve'enam olvim." There's three levels of people that are embarrassed and the way they reply to the embarrassment. First level is ne'elavim. They get embarrassed. Ve'enam olvim. They don't embarrass back. They may defend themselves, but they won't embarrass them. The second level is shomim cherpatam. They hear their embarrassment. Ve'enam mashivim. They don't answer. They don't even defend themselves. They couldn't. The third level is osim me'ahava v'smechim b'yisurim. Act out of love and rejoice with any pain and suffering that they receive. This is the very three levels in. Nachman speaks about this. This is the Gemara. All the whole Torah speaks about this. These are three general levels in how to reply to insult. Over here we see that kadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Aluv, that he's one of the ways we describe Hashem as a king that could get embarrassed. Like knowing how to get embarrassed there's a godly way to get embarrassed. And this is really, really the pneumius over here, is that if someone is sinning against us, again, obviously not in an abusive way, in a way that we can handle, that puts us in our free choice, we could become Melech Aluv, we could become like Hashem. Yeah, that's the reason. I think the reason why the pasuk itself has 3 levels is because it takes time. It takes a lot of time. It's because it's not telling you just 3 types of tzaddikim. It's telling you there's like start off with the first level, and the second level, and
Can you
then
repeat the levels again?
what?
Can you repeat the levels again?
The first level is people that hear their embarrassment, they get insulted, and they answer back, but they don't insult back. The second level is shomim chilpatam ve'inam meshivim. They hear their, meaning on the second level, they're not even getting embarrassed. They hear their embarrassment. The first level is that you got embarrassed. It's interesting, like even getting embarrassed is also like a certain level. Like there's a level where you could like realize, okay, that you said that was your opinion, that's your experience. Not my monkeys, not my jungle. I have to go into your thing, and just because you said that, that's not me. It's already also it's a level of maturity, to be honest. And the third level is the third level is to really rejoice with this process of becoming godly. That means I'm involved in a much bigger process in my life. I'm here to become godly. I'm here to become holy. How? By overcoming my animal soul and becoming godly. When will this happen? At certain times, in certain conditions, where you're going to be driven to answer from your animal soul, and then you're going to be awakened to say, wait, there's a godly response. I want to become a god. This is over here.
But how can you become godly and not become a shmata?
Is God a shmata?
No, but human beings are not God. So
Right.
you let somebody take advantage of you, you let somebody take advantage of you, you let somebody take advantage of you. How long do you let that person take advantage?
We said if it's an abusive, right? We said if it's an abusive relationship where then it's not. There's going to be an attitude where you have to make rules and who are you, and set the relationship straight. But in a healthy relationship, there could be insult. There could be a level of insult that doesn't break the relationship, right? And there could be a level of argument or a level of disagreement. So we're talking about a normal level. When that normal level comes into your life, it may push you to the wall, but it's going to push you to your animal soul. It's going to push you to reply, right? To reply from instinct, an animal reaction. And what makes us not an animal is we could stop at that, realize we're not an animal. We're here to upgrade our responses. We're here to upgrade our reality, or to upgrade our perception. And I'm realizing that this is a godly moment right now. That this horrible thing of you throwing an egg at me or whatever, imagine the worst thing, I don't know what, that right away my natural wants to defend and take my space and my ego and all that, realizing that right now this is an invitation to godliness. I'm invited here to realize, wait, there's a godly way. How does God respond? How does God respond when people throw eggs at him?
I have a different experience, and I think I have a lot of savlanut, but when I was little, like I was 5, there was a kid at school who hit me. I went home, I told my parents, and they said, the next time you hit back and harder, and then they'll go on to someone else. Otherwise, they'll keep picking on you because you're the weakest link. And so the next time I hit back harder, and I never had to worry about it anymore.
Stay on your good side, yeah.
And now we're friends. We've been to class reunions together, and it's all okay.
Some best friends have two of those things. It's true.
We were teaching boundaries. Maybe.
That you'll learn in the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, it was real hard not.
We're talking obviously this, we're going to see that there's many times to use Devorah, there's many times to use strength, and there's many times to use unpleasant, and we see that the mitzvot are not, all like, nicey, there's things of like slaughtering. There's a lot of blood and pain in our religion. It's plenty of but we learn that the root of all this comes from an amazing godly strength that we have. So you're right, strength could be used in an admirable way. It could also be used in a very cheap way. So obviously we're learning about how to tap into the godly higher self and discover the real strength. So there's going to be a time where you'll have to slap somebody. Sometimes when you may have to slap your kid. So some people say yes, some people say no, whatever it is. It could be within a context. But there's a relationship. The whole thing fits in. Our goal in this life is to reach dvekut. Remember, this is the main word that we're always going to search for in everywhere. So dvekut means unity, becoming one, becoming similar. And the key to understand that is that we're created unlike God for the purpose of becoming God, of merging back and returning back. That's right. The Shevenosh ad daka, v'tomer shuvu ben adam. Let's return. So now we're aware of our natural animal self, the way we naturally react. And now we're learning about how God reacts to these things. And we're learning about them in the frame of a relationship so we could bring it into our lives and upgrade our relationships. And through the difficulties, and it's going to be precisely through the difficulties. It's going to be the difficult people that are going to push your buttons. Nachman has a story, the first story that he has about the lost princess. I'm sure everyone read it. If you didn't read it, you should read it. And in this story of Lost Princess, there's this theme where, right, the second in command is looking for the princess, and he goes into the deserts, and he meets this gigantic man carrying a gigantic tree, and he says, "Where's the princess?" And this guy is discouraging him. He says, "You're nuts. There's no mountain of gold with fortress of diamonds. You're delusional. Go home." And he cries and the guy says, "You know what? I'll send him to my brother." And he sends it to his brother. After a couple of years, he meets his brother, and his brother again discourages. "No way, you're delusional." And after he cries to his brother, he says, "No, it can't be. I know that it exists." His brother says, "You know what? I'll send you to my third brother. He's in charge of all the spirits of the world. If there's anything out there, he'll know." And really, after the third brother tried to discourage him and tell him, "No, you're delusional. It doesn't exist," the third brother was the one that actually helped him find the princess. And that we learn from this story, from many stories in life, is that sometimes you'll meet people in life that looks like, "Hey, that guy's my problem. Let me just get past him. Things will be okay." It's through him. It's embrace him. It's through that challenge. It's through that impossibility that when you go through it, you'll discover not that it will change, it's something inside of us. Like a certain godliness will develop. And when that godliness develops, that's the Shemen Zayit Zach. That's what we want to squeeze out of life. That pure godliness that comes out of us. So Yiratzon, that may Hashem give us the zchut to bring out all these midot through minimal human friction. And may we have the zchut to see all of our human relationships as invitations to mercy and to godliness. And may we have chaim tovim, good life.
Amen. Thank you. Yes,
The reason I did so close and not trying to get in your space, but I have trouble hearing, so I have to go.
Watch it.
What, that's.
We have.
Um,